It's RPM.
Hey, Mike, what's going on, brother? How you doing, man?
Not much. Hey, I don't want to talk about this broad because I think everybody's general consensus on her is going to be the same.
Right.
I have a question for you about. Something that I've been wanting to ask you about for a while.
Okay.
Because it's a subject matter I've never heard anyone discuss. Maybe they have, but I've never heard it. And it's something I've always had luck with over the years that almost sounds like a complete contradiction of what we learned as youngsters.
Okay.
And what I'm talking about is we all learned way early on, if we're smart, when a girl tells you, you're like a brother to me. We know what that means. We know that you're in the friend zone. If you want to get your way out of it, you can, but it's going to take some time to invest to get out of that.
That's right.
You're almost better off not even putting in the effort. Now, where I used to get confused with this was a lot of times early on, and I've still heard it till this day, I would never hear that. What I would hear, well, I'm not going to say I would never hear that. Everybody's heard that at some point.
Sure.
I would hear, you remind me of my brother.
Oh.
Not, you're like a brother to me. You remind me of my brother. And what I started figuring out is, unbeknownst to me, this was an IOI in the form of a DTF. And it wasn't because they were sexually attracted to their brother. I looked like their brother, or I even reminded them necessarily their brother. I reminded them usually of a guy that their brother was friends with.
Wow.
Who they wanted to smash or had. So naturally, by seeing me, it reminded them of their brother.
Oh my!
Now, some of them will say, "Hey, you remind me." Some of them will say, "Hey, you remind me of a guy that my brother used to be friends with," and that's the same thing. Some of them will come out and say that.
Right.
But it took me forever to make that association. Because when I was hearing it early in my late teens, early 20s,
yeah,
I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was the opposite. This even goes as far as, if you're one of the young guys out there that's banging older women, because you're in that phase. Hey, we've all been there.
Of course.
But if you ever run across an older woman that is actually someone you would consider smashing, and she says, you know what, you remind me of my son. You do not remind her of her son. You remind her of one of her son's friends.
Wow.
Who she wanted to smash every time he came over.
Oh my, you know what, dude? This is spot on, dude. Dude, I've never heard this before, but I think you're right, man. I think you're right.
Well, that's why I'm asking you, because I've told this to dudes over the years, and they're like, you're out of your friggin' mind. I'm like, no, I swear to God. But the thing is, I never hear anyone talk about this. So for years, for 2 decades, I've been going, is this just obsolete to me? Because I don't ever believe anything's obsolete to just anybody.
No, because this is, listen.
It falls under the same guidelines, I think, Don, of whenever a girl tells you, hey, you remind me of, or has anyone ever told you you look like? Whether this is somebody we think of in high regard, if a girl's telling you look like somebody, unless it's it's Pat character from Saturday Night Live, it's a compliment, and it's an IOI, and it's a DTF.
Of course.
Maybe a dude you don't see in high regard, but that's what she's telling you.
Wow. Dude, you know what, Mike, I think there's something to that. And the reason I say that is because we all know every female in this country who was raised with brothers, they all have brothers with that one friend.
They're naturally nicer normally.
Well, right. But every girl has had a crush on one of her brother's friends or multiple friends. That's just how it is. Dude, and again, girls talk about, listen, dude, my sister had a crush on one of my friends. I was 15, 16 years old. One of my best friends, my sister just went to pieces around him. She had a crush on him.
Yeah.
Not only that, you go to the other side of the street. There are women, especially the cougar types, when their sons are 18, 19 years old, they got 18, 19-year-old friends. Moms be wanting to smash their son's friends. Listen, dude, there are adult films based on this quote-unquote fetish. There are adult films based on the other one as well. I think you're 100% right. I think that there is a difference between you're like a brother to me or you remind me of my brother. I think there's something to that, Mike.
It's a big difference. The first time I ever made this discovery, I was 18, and I was in a record store back when they existed. And one of the girls that was helping me was about 24. She asked me where I was from. I told her. She goes, you remind me of my cousin. I didn't think anything of that, but the more she talked to me, the more I figured out she's trying to pull me in because I remind her of her cousin.
Right.
It's a little weird, but if it's going to get me some ass, I'm going to go with it.
Hey, yeah, right. Hey, well, what about me reminds you of your cousin? Let's go out and have a cup of coffee and talk about it.
Right.
Well, Mike,
yeah,
listen,
but
man, check this out.
Once you figure that out, you don't even necessarily have to even ask them. You already know what it means.
Listen, in the chat, Mike.
Pretty much dead set.
In the chat, Mike, the chat MA says this is some next level game knowledge. And this is the thing, Mike. When people present new ideas or they call the show or they put things in the chat, we generally know whether something applies or not. If it's a theory, we'll say, well, what if a girl says or does this doesn't mean she's DTF? For the most part, we'll all either agree or disagree. There might be some dissenters one way or the other, but we all have the same general consensus because we all have the same level of awareness. This is one of those instances where what you just said makes perfect sense. Everybody knows this is correct because everybody knows somebody. Everybody knows a girl who had a crush on her brother's friends because every girl has had a crush on her brother's friends. Every mom has had a crush on their son's friends. Dude, that is 100%, 100% game gold.
Well, yeah, I just had a conversation with a buddy of mine 2 nights ago. He went out with a girl, and he was telling me how it went, and he goes, I don't think it's going to go too well. And I said, why? He goes, well, she gave me the brother line. I said, what'd she say? And he goes, what exactly? She said I reminded her of her brother. I said,
there it was. There it was. Oh, wow.
I go, fuck her. He goes, what do you mean fuck her? I go, that's a DTF. Did she say you're like a brother to me? And he goes, no. I go, you remind me of my brother is a DTF.
Wow.
And he's like, you're crazy. I'm like, no, I have done this for years.
Dude.
And it works.
Listen, Mike, listen. This is a breakthrough. And I'm telling you right now, I'm actually going to write this down. I am going to put this very translation in Womanese Volume 3. Not only, Mike, am I going to put it in Womanese Volume 3, I am going to cite you. I'm going to give you credit on the screen of the course submitted by Red Pill Mike, because that is absolute 100% game gold. Kyle 2020 says, I am never forgetting this. I'll make sure you don't, because it's absolutely going in Womanese Volume 3, man. I'll give you the last word.
Well, my question is, why the hell is no one talking about this?
I don't think.
I've been waiting to hear somebody talk about it forever, and no one brings it up. And I'm like,
Mike, here's the thing.
This can't be dead knowledge.
No. Here's why I think most people don't talk about it, because everybody's experienced it. But what we're taught in this community is if the word brother comes up, we automatically think friend zone. But they're not really reading the concept. Listen, like your friend, he said, well, how did it go? Well, she told me that I reminded her of her brother. You're like, dude, that's DTF. He didn't know. Think of how many people didn't have a Red Pill Mike on the other side telling them, like, dude, like, that's not friend zone talk. That's DTF talk. Nobody, dude, very few people have that. So when they go out on a date and they're like, all right, well, she says that I remind her of her brother, or even on a date, oh my God, you remind me so much of my brother. And he's like, all right, well, I guess this is over. Let me just go ahead and shut this down and see what's going on here. May as well not try. And they completely dip out of the set, man. That's why it's not talked about, because guys don't follow through. They hear brother, they automatically think friend zone.